Okay. Howdy, folks. Right. And welcome to another episode of CodePenDublin. Big thanks to our host tonight, Accenture, who pronto, doesn't matter. I'll edit it. So, give us the space, the pizza, and the drinks. And let's talk about some front-end stuff. How we're going to do it? I'm going to ask for volunteers to come and present something. I have some good stuff to reward them. There will be a T-shirt. There will be a card with 3 months of CodePen Pro. I'm going to give them only to those who come present. So find your courage. And some other CodePen swags. Whatever gets left at the end, we'll split it up. So, any volunteers from the beginning? Don't need to start. Okay. Let's have a look. I'm going to show something that I worked recently, and I'll probably ask first for permission before I put the video online, because yeah, there's a bit of branding there, there's a bit of other related stuff. So this is something that I worked less than a month ago, and it was actually like a test for an interview. I was searching for a job at that moment, and the task was I was given a screenshot of this dashboard and was told, Adrian, code it, let's see how you code. I took it, the changer said first, no framework, no Bootstrap, no foundation. Let's go as modern as possible, and I went with Flex. Most of it, it's display HTML, some CSS written with SAS in the SAS syntax to cover something more automatic. And let's go in full view. I think it's like this. Yeah. So your ordinary dashboard. It keeps refreshing. Let's go a little bit and work on the responsive part. I took played with as much as Flexbox as possible. I learned a lot with that occasion, so there are things that maybe could have been done better or not. My focus was getting done fast and as elegant as possible. Breakpoints were chosen based on the content, so I didn't go with the device limits like it's standard. I just looked when the content was starting to break, and from there went and tweaked it first. So we got the first breakpoint somewhere around 800 pixels, if I remember correctly, when the side column goes below. There is another one at around 400, when practically I'm getting rid of all the extra space and minimize. There could have been a bit of further optimization. Like I haven't touched type. For smaller screens, I could have gone and shrunk the text, make it fit a little bit better. Didn't have the time for it, and I was just pleased to have the interface scale up and down as much as possible. So I've got the layout done with Flexbox, got left the side column fixed width, the other one taking all the rest of the space. Like we will have a small discussion on the side on Monday at the other meetup. There could have been ways to do this only with flavor properties. I just went a mix. I didn't have time to really study all the differences and went with what worked for me. And however, it's for the names, I look like for the biggest and largest Irish names I could find online to try and break it out, see if I can force the layout to break as well as possible. So we have something like folding text here for very large unbreakable lines. There will be, as you go down, things get a bit arranged. When data gets shrunk again, it's so more than this. It's less than the 320 pixels, unless you wanted to view it on a smart watch. Then going less than that is not really needed. So I was satisfied enough to have it okay at this size. What extra optimizations I did? I played a little bit, so with the logo goes on top when it's small. I have this logout link being spread out to the side and folding in back. This one is done only with CSS, so it's rectangle, rotated, and I used the before and after to form the side of triangles. It looks okay in Chrome. I've seen it slide like a pixel because of it's rotated. On Firefox, you can see the seams, and rest is buttons. Play with, again, not try to keep things as clean as possible, and we go back to the code again. Try to keep.
You're using SAS a lot.
Yeah, I use SAS. I haven't used SAS before in a real project, so I took that as an extra challenge. But I worked with less with Bootstrap, and considering that Bootstrap 4 will have switched to SAS, less kind of goes bye-bye. It's losing its biggest ally. So
just a quick question there. What do you feel is the strength of SAS over less in particular? Like, is there any strengths in particular, or do you feel very similar, and what's just more popular than the other? What's your feelings on the differences between them?
I don't mind either of them, but the last large framework that used less was Bootstrap 3. Bootstrap 4 being switched to SAS practically leaves less only with the minor frameworks, and so yeah.
So more of a popularity.
The writing on the wall is that more people prefer SAS.
Does indentation, I've never used that, so I don't use SAS, but does indentation, like that, if it's not indented correctly, it doesn't work?
So, yeah, one of the things I noticed that people use SCSS as opposed to pure SAS, which is the shorthand thing. SCSS being very similar to less. So, I wonder what's the main primary difference between SCSS and less?
I've had a look at the SAS syntax, the shorthand.
Yeah.
Don't really like it. It's very easy. I'm pretty sure if somebody who is versed in it, it will be very easy to continue writing. Somebody who's new, it's very, very easy to make mistakes with that. Now brackets, just indentation gives you nested selectors, so it's very, very, very easy to just. I think just switching an editor from like tabs to spaces or something like that, it's prone to mess up with that if you're not sure. And that one, it's seen as the old version, and the SCSS format is a bit more what's recommended as the new way for people to start learning. Once you're comfortable, then feel free to use whatever it is. But for people learning, like I do, even if I'm doing the transition, and when you transition less to SCSS, differences are very minor. You replace at with the dollar and a few other instead of mixin, you have include, but you don't jump into the deep end with the nested shorthand format.
So I suppose the reason why I'm asking this is because I've been looking this up quite a bit recently, which is the SCSS versus less, and I didn't really see much of a feature difference between them, apart from SCSS requiring Ruby, which is a next installation step, versus less, which runs pure native in Node.js in the browser. So is there anything I'm
There is
missing
a very
or-
strong library for SAS and SCSS Node as well, which is just as good as the Ruby one. So that is when I started first with less, accepting the fact that I was working with Bootstrap, so it was a natural connection. At that point, and it still is, you could work directly in browser, so you load the less compiler as a JavaScript, and you don't have to pre-compile it. You write it as, it's not really production deployable, but for somebody who's learning, it's a lot easier.
So you don't have to compile it before you push out anything.
No, you write directly less, you link the less file, just like you link a normal style sheet. You load the compiler as the JavaScript file, and it runs straight in the browser.
That's why I've been very confused why SAS grew popularity and trying to understand the differences between them. I'm just not quite sure what that difference is. I'm trying to search for it, but I'm not quite sure what it is. So
It's not a bad way to compile that.
It's okay. It's okay for development for somebody who's learning. You won't do that in production.
No, not chance.
And the fact that you're losing the advantages like having modules, having dependencies, only importing what you need, just like you can do in CodePen. It's easy to run things here, but it's not an ID. It's not a full scale editor. I know they're working on features to get them. And if you go with the Pro, you get like I did, you can get load assets. You can get a few extra stuff, images, and you can use a pen as a framework and load it in a different one. There's a couple of screencasts with Chris Coyle where he's talking about all these features. There's one on SidePoint, and I think there's another one on Shopify. Go to CSS Tricks, and you're bound to find the list of that.
I have a second unrelated question. So one of the things you brought up is that you're using flexboxes. Now flexbox support is actually pretty good. Even in i11, it's actually pretty decent if you ignore some of the syntactical differences.
No, so the syntax difference was in 10.
Yeah.
In 11, there's a bunch of bugs, which if you go around them.
But I suppose my question would be is that the thing about Flexbox, that you can pretty much use Flexbox everywhere in the web page these days. What's your thoughts on taking that approach versus the more traditional approach of using inline block and vertical align, that kind of stuff? Like, do you think there's any issues after doing that kind of experiment, or do you think it's okay to use Flexbox everywhere?
I've read some articles that say that Flexbox was meant for content management of small items, and the grid layout was meant for actually building the layout at the large blocks. I haven't run what I've seen before. It's very simple, or even something like the Holy Grail layout, which is again can be very easily done with that's the Holy Grail layout done with Flex. Understand there are some cases when things can go tricky. I haven't hit anything myself, but for stuff like positioning, flow management, it's a lot. It's a lot more flexible. It's a lot easier and more elegant. Less code to write. I know there were some discussions over layouts of the form, like you have a gallery of thumbnails, 1, 2, 3, 4, next row 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. and you would have 9 and 10, so evenly spaced, but with the last two elements like float. Because if you put justify content space between, it will put the sides, but the last line will fall. And I've seen it done not with space between, but with space around, and a negative margin on the nth element, which actually it can be done on each element because you don't know how it is. So the flow goes, it will just have less space between them. Instead of having double the space between, it will be a single space because each one has a negative margin equal with the space around. Kind of tricky to pull out, but it's not impossible.
So would you say it's production ready to use Flexbox everywhere in that case?
If it fits, sure. Why
Assuming
not?
not targeting like IE6 or anything.
No, well, Flexbox, as you've seen, it can go on anything, even 10 with the wonky syntax, which was for the first version. Yeah. But everywhere else along the board is green, and the only issue is, so there are bugs. Some I ran into this myself with the mean height when I was building an AVA. We used Flex because it gave us very easy the height of the links, the height of the navbar, and we could move items left and right as we wanted. And we hit that thing with mid height. We also hit it once when we tried to center a login panel in the middle of the page. But we found a way to go around it, and it's ready. So go on.
Yeah.
You use Flex in production.
Fair enough.
Granted, our IE traffic is.
Don't replace completely float. So use whatever suits the situation.
Yeah.
The floats have their own uses in some situations.
And they're like box guys, so don't use like even floats. But yeah, I get your message. It's that Flex is pretty much ready to use for production purposes, anyways, and that pretty much can be used throughout the entire application almost. So
you can get a lot of. So we've seen earlier. I showed you that thing. We have here layout. I've seen some experiments with. I was actually running 3 versus 4. And they had some talks about, see if I find it right, how in Bootstrap 4 they replaced panels and everything else with cards, and with Flex it's very easy to just get everything at the same height.
Yeah,
it's not. I was actually going today, so that's the list of actual differences. Making a parenthesis and talking about Bootstrap 3 and 4, I think it's choosing one over another, even if 4 is alpha, it's more for the benefit of the developer than for the end product. On the output part, there is a little difference. Yeah, you have a bit more granular control, but it's more for the developer's benefit.
Question: what's your workflow? Do you use any like task managers, like Job, Ground? Just pure curiosity.
At my current project, I don't have a workflow at the moment, but before that, it was a combination of, it was Grunt, then switched to Guard, Webpack. It was less, and we used. So at that moment, we were working on a white label solution that had to be branded for all the possible clients without touching the markup, which meant that every change has to happen in the CSS. Each client would have its own CSS, but the markup has to stay the same. So going normal way of adding classes to the markup was not suitable. So we used BEM to create unique class names for the components. And then inside the less, we build it up and imported mix-ins from Bootstrap initially. But we gave up after that because, for example, we had clients that hover for buttons was a different color. The mix-ins for Bootstrap say that the hover is 10% darker. So we had to rewrite the mix-ins completely. And overall, after a year of working on that product, the only thing that was imported from Bootstrap as it was the grid and the typography. Everything else in terms of components pretty much got rewritten so that there was maximum. When I started with that product, it took me 2 months to cast. I was learning how it worked, but it was a long code. It took 2 months to customize it for a new client. A new person like me who knew the CSS, but because the code was so very old and you were lacking the hooks to target, it was very difficult to write the CSS that were branded. In the end, the new product built with Angular and an API, it took less than a week, and most of that time was taking the brand guideline, choosing exactly what to take from there and put it into a configuration file with variables that you would put into the compilation. And so most of the time, if you knew exactly what went where, you could do it in a couple of hours.
So just one interesting point you brought up there is that you kind of brought up the point where you're kind of fighting against Bootstrap a little bit there. Now, I would argue that say that if you're targeting RE6, Bootstrap's quite good because it gives you all that grid system and all that. But with Flexbox in particular, is there a need for Bootstrap these days? Because if we're overriding most of the components that provides us, what is the purpose of using Bootstrap in that case?
It gives you rapid development. On one hand, it gives you there's documentation, which is very easy to onboard somebody. It's very easy to bring a new developer who might know Bootstrap and can pick up very fast. It just depends on the project. If it's small enough, you can go along with, you load the Bootstrap and just load another CSS on top of it. That's the simplest possible. You load the minimum, even if you carry more baggage. The fact that we could be cached via the CDN makes it possible to offset that disadvantage of carrying the entire framework. If it's something more complicated, it might, and if you plan to upgrade, let's say you want Bootstrap, but don't want to start with 4 because it's still in alpha, but want to move at some point. You can start with a BEM approach of writing the code, and then in the CSS you import the styles and the mixins and the rest of the elements from Bootstrap 3. And when you're satisfied with the final, with the public version of 4, you just do the adjustments only in the CSS. You won't have to touch the markup. So it depends. If you have only an application where you're interested of, and between these two extremes, you can stop wherever you like. It's up to what best, and depends what restrictions you have, how much time you have for development. If you're really pressured, then yeah, load Bootstrap, type some CSS on top of it, and get it run. And yeah, you can refactor it at some point later. It's just, there's no saying it's good. It's good in some places, just like any other framework. There are places where it's excellent. There are places where it can be good, but it has alternatives. And there are places where it's more work to offset what it brings along than to start from scratch. If you have something, let's say it's something like on a marketing agency who does a promotional mini site of only 1 or 2 pages, then carrying along the whole framework there is overkill. You just go a lot faster and you can have a lot more control building it by hand like I did with that pen before.
Yeah.
Analyze the situation and choose the. Ask around. It's not. It's no. Nobody got themselves learned.
Yeah.
So ask what other people see. Look around, and you'll find. Yeah, everybody will come with a proposal, but in the end, choose what's comfortable. What the plans are for the future. Current project I'm working now. The startup will be exactly like this. I'm building wireframes at medium fidelity with Bootstrap components, but I'm building them as images. Yeah, you can very easily do that with if you know Draw.io.
Yeah.
Sorry, what are you doing?
Going on tangent. So you can select wireframes and or go directly with basic, and when you select here at more shapes, you have Bootstrap components, which are. So it is very easy to create a wireframe from this. It's good enough to show to the stakeholders. It's close enough to the final product, and developers can very well use it to start coding. You have this as the base. Meanwhile, you prepare on the side a CSS file that overrides the default styles, and you load it. That's how we're going to start, because the initial scope of the project is a wizard of 3 pages. There's no. It will be overkill. It will spend a lot more time building a system with BEM and the components. It will be done that as well along the road, because I have a plan to refactor a lot more of the application. But as I said, it depends on scope. There is a critical mass where the customization saves you more time than if you were to craft everything by hand. And below that critical mass, it's easy to just go with the framework and change on top of it. After that critical mass, it's worth putting the effort on creating a system. That's what I found so far.
Do any of you guys have a favorite lighter framework? Say you just want a grid system and maybe some basic buttons and stuff.
Flexbox.
Just like Fox.
I've used Bourbon before.
Bourbon? Yeah. Okay.
That was kind of like a small project.
Would it be a lot lighter than we found out to use this?
Yeah, it seems to be a lot lighter. But I found it a little bit. I don't know, maybe it's minus the space.
Once that I started,
Okay.
I started poking my nose through Inuit CSS or Fireworks. So that one is supposed to be just structure with no UI baggage. Bootstrap is magnificent for rapid prototyping because you already have visuals built in the framework. If you want complete control, you either have to import only what you need with the preprocessor, or you have to counter it and neutralize it and get it to the form you want. I think there's a few other frameworks that are a lot lighter. So Harry calls this UI toolkit, which is more close to what they are instead of a framework. Okay. Anybody else want to present things?
Well, there's something I might want to do for 15 minutes roughly, which is basically an introduction to so one of the questions I ask for people is can you tell me what the difference between inline block, and block is? And surprisingly enough, a lot of people don't know what difference is, particularly between inline and inline block is. So I might give it a quick tutorial if that's all right, Matt.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
That's good.
You can come over here. I know you ran from the camera, but
No choice.
oh,
Okay.
it's the only screen that gets projected.
Wait for like 5 minutes, maybe? 2 minutes.
Well, I don't know. When are you going to turn out?
I fly go quickly back and then back.
Oh, yeah.
Break?
Sorry, I thought you were asking.
But meanwhile, anybody else wants to present something?
I was like a minute. I'm literally showing.
Yeah. Come.
Log in somewhere.
You might not even need to log in. Like, you might just go to the URL or whatever.
Yeah, I'll try that.
If you know it, you don't need to log in. Have you got a CodePenDublin logo?
Sorry?
Have you got a CodePenDublin logo? Are we matching the two of them together? Dublin.
I haven't made the wallpaper for that. I can edit it.
Okay. So the designer at work wanted a frosted glass thing on top of the background, but you need. So I basically made a basic version of the finished working frosted glass thing because it was a bit of a pain to put it together. So there's a couple of different there's a couple of different versions that you can use. Some of them use two different images, so a normal image and then a blurred image over it, which is kind of moved into the correct place. But what we did instead was we decided to use one image, one background image, which is this blue puppy. We inherit the background and then use background position to actually put in the location for the transparent banner. So we apply that to the before element, and then we apply the frosted covering to the after. So if I turn off the background for the after, it should just show the blur. So you can blur on the background and apply the frosted covering to the after.
Is that an easy?
So how do you do the frosting? Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't realize the blur. I was like, why didn't you just change the opacity?
Yeah.
It would blur.
Yeah, so yeah, it seems like a really straightforward thing to go through. Like it looks like you would just throw. So there's you can use there's a filter CSS thing, and it would look like you could just throw that onto the transparent banner here. But what that does is it actually it'll apply the blur to the content. So if I nice. Okay, great.
You can double click on the bar to maximize the CSS panel.
Is blur enabled by default? Because I tried it a couple of months ago. It wasn't enabled by default. I had to enable some flags. Is it now properly supported now? Is it? Okay.
No, I got this up and running just before I left work, so I haven't had a chance to
Fair enough.
check stuff.
Filter works anyway.
Filter works, but blur necessarily doesn't. You have to enable an experimental flag for it initially.
I'm not like I don't know what the support is for filter on Firefox. I saw somewhere that it could be a bit dodgy. This works for right now. So if I turn off what was I doing there? So yeah, just to show you that it'll blur the content. So you can see the content in the background. It actually it'll blur the content as opposed to actually blurring the image that's being inherited. So that is solved by inheriting the image and applying the background the frosted glass to the front for the afternoon. That's my I heard there was a free t-shirt. So.
What size? S,
Medium.
M, X, medium. Medium.
Thank you.
Don't. The most important part.
I get to go pro.
So you go here, you'll sign this, and upload the picture with your signature or your email.
Cool. Thank you.
What do you get with CodePen Pro?
That's a good question.
Serious Chris Word.
Okay.
Do you get
mo-
scripted text or stuff?
no, most important thing that you get with Corel Pro, and why most people say they will go, is the ability to have private pens. That's number one in the reasons. Two, you can get you can upload assets, and yeah, this should be something like a description of what to get. From the out of my, the most important is just the. I don't know where it should be. It should be somewhere here.
Doesn't matter. I was just curious.
Yes,
Just curious.
private pens, so the ability to have things that not everybody sees is the most important for most of the users. You can get some other things like those are useful more for like teachers. You can get a shared presentation environment. I don't know. You probably have to find the pro page, and you get you get access to a bunch of discounts.
Oh, the link to on the previous page. I'll have a look at it.
Yeah, you can get some discounts in several places. It's
Let's call Chris.
okay. But the fact that I already have Pro might, private pens, asset hosting, live view, yep. Embedded teams, collab mode, which is people working at the same time, like you do on Google Docs. Access to the perks and professor mode.
What are you waiting for, Stan?
or volunteer to present something like that.
I'll do my presentation anyways. Yeah. Okay.
What's next?
Oh, afterwards. We do afterwards.
Do you have to say your size t-shirt out? I'm pretty sure.
All right. So, so one of my favorite questions to ask people is, what's the difference between inline block, and block? Raise your hands if you know what all the differences are. Okay, so not so many anyways, that's only 50%. It's actually quite a bit subtle what the differences are, but we're just going to explore it a little bit today and just see what we discover. So first of all, we're just going to create some span elements here, right? So what we're going to just do is create some span elements. I'm not used to this keyboard, so bear with me for a second. Then what we're going to do is just create a second span here, and we'll just explore what this is going to do in the inspector. Okay, and then we'll just close off this paragraph tag. So when we look at this first of all, right? So it seems pretty normal. It just renders some text for us, right? So that's pretty straightforward. Let's just inspect this a little bit and just look at the responsive behavior for it. So when we look at it and we look at the box that's calculated for us, you can see here anyways, it seems okay. It's a little bit weird. So when I hover over this one, for example, it's actually also showing me the previous span as well, which is quite interesting, right? And look what happens when we do our responsive behavior. The text just wraps. So this is pretty expected behavior as we would expect from just a couple of spans. So let's actually change this up a little bit and try and just introduce inline block and just see what happens. So what I'm going to do is actually just do span here. And we're going to do select the first span. So I'm going to use the first child here. And I'm going to change the display property and set it to inline block. So that when I run this, you can see that something just changed there. What changed? Well, if we actually just look at the responsive behavior here, you can see that the first span is kind of self-contained now. The second span that was kind of mixing in with it originally is no longer mixing in with it. It's now actually jumping down to an element below it. So you see here, they're very much independent elements. So that's interesting. So now we can actually see some differences between inline and inline block. So let's actually go back to block for a second and just see what happens. So the paragraph tag is an example of a block element. So what do we mean by block element? Well, let's just find out. So I just wrote a second paragraph here. And the main thing to note about block elements is that what they do is they stack. So if I was to copy and paste that presumably, oh, FN key, okay. Yeah, not useless laptop. But if I was to introduce another paragraph here, you can really just wrap. And it doesn't matter what content I put into that paragraph, it's always going, the second paragraph is always going to be underneath the original paragraph. And that's what we mean by block elements. Block elements take up the full horizontal width of the basically the container that is put inside. In this case, the body tag. So that's good. So now we've got some little bit of a difference between inline and block. So let's play around this more. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to create some blocks here. So let's say we want to create a very simple layout. Our layout we want to create is 50% red, 50% blue, right beside each other. Should be simple enough, right? So let's actually try that out. So what we're going to do here, we're going to create a simple div. So we're going to call the first one box 1. I'm going to put in message hello just to make it easier to see. I'm going to create another div here as well. I'm going to call it box 2. Okay, so we first of all just render this to see what happens. They actually just render stacked on top of each other. And div is a block is another example of block element. Then it doesn't matter how many divs you put in, they're all going to stack underneath each other. So let's actually try and put them side by side. So how do we put them side by side? Well, we're going to use inline block. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this rule here and put in a simple rule for both box 1 and box 2 that says we're going to do inline block. Now, when we do inline block initially, what it does, it looks at the content. So the content here is just hello and world. So they can fit snugly right beside each other. So what I'm going to do now is for box 1, I'm going to give it a background color blue. And then for box 2, take me a while to get used to this keyboard. Go get background color red. That's great, that's a good start. So now what I want to do is actually give them 50% of the width for each other, right? So this should be simple enough, right? So I'm just going to give it 50% here. And with 50%. And you might notice something interesting happens. So this is a problem that a lot of people run into initially, is that, assuming you can see that anyways, yeah. So when you first think, well, they're side by side, you're getting 50%, surely they should be right beside each other, right? So 50 and 50 is 100%. When the reality is that we have to remember what inline block actually means. So inline is designed for text elements, right? So we actually go back into the history of HTML. HTML was designed for documents. And what do we mean by documents? We mean like things like paragraphs, headers, links. They all link to different documents, right? And this is the roots of HTML, and it's quite important to remember this, because a lot of the CSS properties actually derive from this. So inline and block were the original types of styles. So we have paragraphs, we have spans. They're all there in the original HTML specification, and that's all we have. Inline block was more of a recent introduction. And all inline block says is that we just take some of the elements of the block property, which is give us some dimension, some width, and some height. And then we also take some of the elements of the inline property, which means, well, we're going to show this as kind of like text in a way. And so what's happening here is that, well, we have two elements, and we're saying they're kind of text, and we're giving 50% each. But the problem is that it's text, and that's an interesting problem, because the reason why this is happening is because of this. Does anyone see the problem? Raise your hand if you see the problem. That's one. Okay, so we got a few people who notice what's happening there. What's happening here is that because there's a line break, I guess interpreted as a space character. Again, because HTML is text, like inline block is text, and this is the thing we have to remember all the time. So there's a few ways we can fix this, right? So what we can do is we can probably just get rid of the space. That'll work. So the line break, any line breaks, tabs, doesn't matter what it is, it will get interpreted as a space character. And you can have as many number of spaces as you want there. So it doesn't matter what I have in here, it'll get interpreted as a single space, right? That's what the browser does, because again, it's text. There's another solution we can use here. What if we just put in the HTML comments? So if anyone remembers how to do this, we can put in HTML comments like this. And that will also fix it because what it's doing is escaping the line break character, so then, yeah, we have no white space anymore. So that's the NER solution. There's also a NER first solution we can use here as well. So let's just say we give this a class, and we'll just call it container. And what I'm going to do here is just to give a style to this container. Now, it won't work fully, but what I'm going to do is give it a font size of 0. Now, that just makes all disappear, but what I'm going to do here is just counterbalance it with the font size of, say, 18 pixels. Then we get our elements back. And the reason this works as well is because space character is still there, but because it has a font size of 0, well, it takes up 0 pixels, so that means it doesn't do anything. So that way then, because there's no dimensions between them, it just goes side by side again. So there's a few ways we can fix that. There's also a NER solution that people are aware of, which is floats, but that's a different thing. Floats, if you actually look in the specification, floats is actually designed for things like newspaper articles, for example, where you want to bring up the image to the top corner and you want all the text to wrap around it. That is a NER solution, but there is other hidden problems behind the float, which we can go into another time potentially. But just to continue on this tutorial then for a second. So that's what we mean by inline blocks. That's still treated as text. So let's just go a little bit more further in here. Let's just play around with some other things because it's text. So what I'm going to do is give these things height. So I'm going to give the first one a height of, say, 200 pixels. I'm going to give the second one a height of 400 pixels. Let's just see what happens. Okay, that works fine there. But let's play around with vertical line. Does anyone raise your hand if you use vertical line but didn't do what you expected it to do? You thought it was going to center the dips. Loads of people, right? So how vertical line works is that it is designed for how you align text, right? Again, let's go back to how HTML is designed. HTML is designed for text. So with vertical line, what it means that, okay, well, normally what we have vertical line is set to baseline. What does baseline mean? Well, baseline is probably the most suitable vertical alignment for that particular font. So let's just explore that a little bit and we'll see what happens, right? So I'm just going to add a span in here. I'm going to set to hello, and I'm also going to add in some lowercase letters. And that's intentional. So hang on a second. Just going to get rid of these for a second. Okay. So you notice something a little bit interesting here is that, so with fonts, there's a lot of characters that go upwards, and then there's some characters that go downwards. But for the characters that go downwards, not actually a lot of them. There's what, G, J, Y, maybe a couple of others. There's also many. And that's kind of what we mean by baseline, is that a lot of the characters go upwards, right? And we don't need to care about so much about the lowercase, the ones that go downwards. Sorry, what were you saying?
P, Q.
P, Q, yes, let's keep them anyway. 6 or 7 layers in many ways. So we don't need to care so much about those characters. We're more concerned about the other characters like E, A, O, I, all those other ones. And that's what we mean by baseline. So let's actually play around with this a little bit more. So, okay, so we have some of these elements that are right beside each other, and that's okay for the most part. But let's say we want to vertically align with each other. So say we want this blue one to be centered with the red one, right? Well, since it's inline block, we can start treating it like text. And because it's treated like text, we can start using vertical line and other things like line height. So we'll try, first of all, just see what happens, and then you'll see something interesting. So first of all, I'm just going to set it to a container, and just leave that there for now. And what I'm going to do is set vertical line to middle for these. Okay, I didn't actually expect that to happen, but fair enough. But yeah, so vertical line works on text, and because inline block is the combination between a block and text, it works on it. But we can do some other interesting things with this. So for example, this container here that contains both the elements is always just suitable, right? The container takes up the space necessary for the largest element. The largest element being the world element at the moment, which is taking up, what, 400 pixels, was it? Yeah, 400 pixels. But let's say we want to take up the full space there that we have visible on this page. So let's try and just, first of all, we'll play around this container first, and we'll just take up the full dimensions of the page first. So what I'm going to do here is position absolute, top 0, left 0, right 0, bottom 0. But the problem is with this, is that it's not going to do anything. So we set a vertical line, yet our container is taking up full vertical space. Yet it's not vertical line with that vertical space. The reason because of the difference between height and line height. Again, raise your hand if you know the difference between height and line height. Okay, it's actually increasing in numbers. That's not too bad. So what we mean by line height is how much space does a single line of text take up, right? Vertically, how much does a single line of text take up? So the font size will already give you some line height, but we can add a little bit of extra padding to it, and that's what line height was originally designed for. But we can exploit this for actually doing some interesting layouts. So let's say we give this container here a line height. Now I'm just going to give it a fixed value just for easier sake. Let's say it was, so our maximum div is around 400 pixels there. So let's say it was 600 pixels we gave this line height. And everything is vertically aligned within that line height. Now the interesting thing is that if we had content wrapping around it, it's also going to take up 600 pixels. But for layouts, this is probably sufficient. So yeah, we can mix around vertical line height, and actually come up with basically any sort of layout that we want. We can also add in some other things onto this as well. So let's say we want to look into things like calc, for example. So let's just again, this is an interesting combination. So we'll just get rid of the span here. And we'll go back to what we had there originally. Yeah, I just noticed it's a low here. I'm not entirely sure what's there again, just heights and stuff like that. But let's ignore that part here for now. So what we're just going to do here as well, I'm just going to show, so let's say we want to have the blues to take up 100 pixels and we want the right to take up the remaining space, right? So we're going to give this here a fixed width of 100 pixels. Okay, that's great. It works as we behaved. Just going to get rid of this for now.
You can still know because it inheritted the line height from the parent. The blue one inherits the line height from the parent, and being a lot larger than its height, it pushes the text below.
Pushes it down, yeah. So let's get rid of that for now. Yeah, there we go. Makes a little bit more respectable there. But what we're going to do here now as well, we want the red to take up the remaining width, right, and be a little bit responsive in that case. So we want to just take whatever space is there. So what I'm just going to do, again, this is a property a lot of people just seemingly enough aren't aware of. So I'm just going to give us a width and calc. Calc is an interesting function. It's one of the few functions that CSS has. It's a runtime calculation. Now, if you're using things like Sass and Less, there's a big difference between what Sass and Less does versus what the browser does. Sass and Less is a pre-calculation. So what that means is that before the style sheet's even served, it's going to run that calculation for you. So if it's like 100% minus 50 pixels, it's probably going to give you something like 50 pixels, which is not exactly what you were expecting. Whereas calc, though, is done on runtime. So that means whenever the layout changes, all these functions are going to execute again and give you a new calculation. So what I'm going to say here, for example, is 100% minus, what, give it 100 pixels? Yeah. 100 pixels. Yeah, there we go. Did I do something wrong?
Oh, because it's on it's enabled for less for some reason.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Disable
yeah.
less.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, with less, less has a calc command.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I'm trying to do is on the client side. Not on the client side, pre-process.
Lost everything, did I? Yeah, okay. Now, again, you notice that it went down, and even though we said 100 pixels and 100% minus 100 pixels, we have to remember something. Inline block is still text, and we still have white space in between them. So how do we fix that? We just get rid of the space. One more time. And now we have a very responsive layout. So just by scaling the browser here, you can see that the second div is taking up 100% minus 100 pixels, and they're just side by side. Now, the interesting thing in Flexbox is that Flexbox actually solves a lot of these problems. So there's a lot of parallels between what I'm doing here and Flexbox. So vertical line, for example, has, what's it, Flex-Align or something? Line items? Yeah, align items. So align items is very similar. We can just say, well, align items middle. So you can take a lot of these lessons that you take from here, and you can actually apply to Flexbox directly. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to show, and so any questions?
Would you ever use this over something like Flexbox?
So, good question. So I was using this all the time beforehand, before Flexbox was widely supported. But since Flexbox is widely supported now, I will be looking into it more. But having said that, though, inline block still has its purpose, same with inline and block. We still want to stack elements. We still want to show elements side by side, whereas Flexbox might not necessarily do that. Like, yeah, Flexbox is designed for scalable content. You could probably apply it for fixed kind of content, But that's what kind of more inline blocks are more suitable for. When you want to say, well, say I had a button and I want to show an icon with a caption right beside the button, inline block is probably more suitable for that as opposed to flag block. You can argue either way. There's a lot of solution when it comes to CSS. There's like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 different approaches you can take. So it really just depends, what is the smaller approach? How can I save the most bandwidth and not serve as much content to my client? And that's really the answer that you take away when it comes to which approach should I take.
I think it depends also on what you intend to do with that page. If you have stuff like animations in the layout or some other things, and you need to consider the optimization for that, then one layout using one method might bring different results if you start animating things than another one. So it's something to consider as well.
Yeah, definitely. The use case, how you expected this to change over time. So, for example, maybe if I'm using responsive behavior, I want to change inline block to block. I wanted to stack underneath as opposed to, well, being side by side. That's also another possibility where there might be a little bit more difficult flag blocks. I'm not too sure. Is it?
No, it's like row and column.
Yeah, so it's probably handy enough. So really, just take a look at, maybe bandwidth is probably your ultimate cider. I'm not too sure. Like, so for example, div is blocked by default. Maybe that works for you better than, maybe flex block. Again, just look at the situation. There's no perfect answer. There's no silver bullet solution for it. Okay.
No.
Oh, I got a t-shirt.
Yeah, well, the package and the cards.
Oh,
Same
you're
as
right.
before. And the t-shirt. One.
Is it like European size or?
Yes, so.
Small then. Thank you much, sir.
Anybody?
On everyone, so thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other volunteers?
I got some random things I can show.
Okay.
Completely random.
Now you're ranting.
No, it's not random.
You want your t-shirt? Come here.
Pretty much, yeah. I just want to go to the team tomorrow and go, I got to
I hope it will fit. That's
What's
what
that
I
mean?
said. Now,
Well, my name is Daniel. I work for CodePenDublin Foundation. Have any familiar with CodePenDublin?
Yeah, I know James well.
Cool.
Like, not know him, but
You know of me.
no, I'm from Cork.
Alright.
He was going to do the same course as me, but then, he decided to go off and not even go to college.
And I was in Dubai.
There we are, yeah. But, no, he went to school with a few of my good friends,
Cool.
like secondary school as well. So, yep, good stuff. Cool.
I don't know.
You don't know CodePenDublin?
No, I do know code.
Why's there cats?
Because everything I do has cats.
cats are awesome.
Yeah, cats are a great way of
Placekitten.com.
place kitten. That's exactly what it is. What about pagination? CodePenDublin.
But that's the showcase, so go for public ones.
Yeah.
Problem between keyboard and chat. How's the content this time?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, as I say, I work with CodePenDublin. So, we're working on the community platform. So, the point of the community platform is for discovering up the dojos. Actually, is there anybody here who doesn't know what CodePenDublin is? CodePenDublin is. Basically, it's a network of free coding clubs for children. So we have like nearly 1,200 dojos worldwide in 67 countries or something like that. So quite a bit. So I'm working on the community platform, which is for for people to register the dojos so that we can vet and we can make sure that they're legit basically. And as well then allows the dojos to use the platform for ticketing, so they can create tickets, they can have all their ninjas, all the basic attendees and stuff like that. So we were working on a redesign there a few months ago because the old design is fairly, let's put it this way, tables everywhere. So not very responsive. It was. I know. I only joined 6 months ago. It was all existed before then. Even like literally only 2 devs, me and a guy called Dean. Both of us inherited this product from a person who inherited it from a contracting agency. But anyway, yeah. So basically, doing redesign, want to be responsive, work well on mobile, and just be a bit prettier. In fact, actually, we have a thing like where basically my title, in fact, I think it might even have it on the Coder website now, my title is Make It Pretty Engineer. And then Dean is Make It Work Engineer because he's more backend. So, yeah. So we're trying to figure out then, when it comes to like managing users in the dojo, what kind of best way to do it. So I jumped into CodePen and started playing around with things. So this is like the first thing I came up with. So the idea is you'd hover over and you get like, actions. This is obviously a little bit broken there because it's not counting for this, but the idea is you get like pop-ups of names and stuff. So it's going quite sluggish actually for some reason. But anyway.
Quick share probably.
Oh right, yeah. But stuff like even just having this like border go out was kind of awkward. I had to use box shadow for it. Or no, that's not the reason why I had to use box shadow. That's in the next example. I'll try that in a second. Spoiler, yeah. But so I'm trying this out and it's like so it works fine on desktop and a mouse, and then you go mobile and it just becomes a mess because once you size it down and down to a mobile size, and now you just trying to hit those exact buttons, and then it's like you have to tap in the first place, but then the tap should go to the actual profile, and lots of weird issues like that. Also using Flex because Flex, it's awesome. Use it.
So you're saying for mobile it was hard to.
Yeah, it was more from a user experience point of view. That was kind of like.
I always found it hard when you're using Hover.
Yeah.
How do you let people know on mobile that there is something there?
Exactly. So that's why I ended up with this instead.
Okay.
So this is where I had to use the box shadow instead of border to do my thing, which I'll explain in a moment. But basically, anyway, so you can see there's no actions this time. It's just like hovering and you get this little animation. Then when you click, action bar. So kind of a bit of an example of like trying to use motion to like draw users' attention to something that they should know about and use. So the actual animation that we end up implementing is a little more subtle than that, but so we've kind of gone this way, and then the idea is you have your different actions down here. I have no how many which I did not implement here. I would show you on Zen itself, but then I'd have to show some Dojo's profile. But yeah, the reason why I have to use box shadow, and also this code is a mess, so don't even it is a prototype. But yeah, so I had to use box shadow because I wanted to see the way it animates to different colors. Could not do that with border. Yeah, so what I actually do is I have 2 box shadows all up at the same time, and just switch the spread amount.
So what happened if you were to use border? Would it just jump or?
Yeah, they wouldn't animate for me. I think actually in general I couldn't animate the width of the border.
Okay.
There's something weird like that. Or I couldn't animate from 0 width to having a border.
Keyframes or something weird like that.
Use keyframes for this jumping animation of the thing, but yeah, probably could have used keyframes for that, but a little bit, yeah. Well, that's it. Box shadow is also a bit overkill.
Just curiosity, you say you're targeting mobile devices. Was there any what platforms were you targeting in particular? Was it Android? Did you care about Android 2.3 or?
Oh no.
Okay.
Basically, Chrome for Android, Safari 8, 9-ish. We haven't really done much on Safari. We know the entire thing doesn't work in private browsing mode on Safari. Because, by the way, if you're ever using local storage and you absolutely need local storage, it doesn't work in private browsing mode in Safari. It completely blocks the API and just crashes. Yeah, so we were using, I think it was Angular Translate, and that used local storage for something. I don't know why. But as a result, the actual dependency injection for Translate would just fail. So the entire app wouldn't load.
Did you test private browsing, or did you just find that out?
We found it out, funny enough, at an event. No, we're at an event this thing called Coolest Projects that's run every year. It's like for kids to come and show off their projects. A bit like this, yeah, but for smaller kids. Basically, we're doing a competition basically where it's like everyone who signed up to the platform posted in the forum that day, we entered into a draw to win. There was Raspberry Pis or Arduinos or something like that. And so obviously we didn't want people to be left logged in, so we used private browsing mode. Or at least we wanted to use private browsing mode. But as soon as we did, nothing happened. So that was.
I thought you'd really thorough like testing. You tested absolutely everything.
I wish we have very little testing. No.
Okay, so that doesn't happen.
Yeah. But yeah, there's probably other quirks in like private browsing mode for things. But that was one that never really would have expected. But yeah. So be warned. Yeah.
So does the bottom toolbar collapse in on mobile?
Yeah. I'm not quite sure if this prototype version does. No, totally doesn't. But I basically what I went down the route was just once you get down a certain point, the text disappears and you just have icons like you would like on a mobile device or whatever. As well, like in the actual implementation as well, the idea is the overflow. So once you start running out of space, then it moves into the overflow menu, kind of like you would on like an Android action bar.
Okay.
That's kind of the main inspiration for it. Like.
Yep.
And that's then the idea of remote select, which again not implemented here. But yeah. So that was basically all I have in my pens of interest. Unless you want to have a look at the Color Dojo branding colors in various shades. Yeah. And it's like, yeah. And then because I'm using Flex and I'm doing a crap job of it, you get these massive ones at the bottom. Because there's no max width set anywhere. I was just playing around with some other Flex layout stuff.
Did you use that as a reference? Your colors. Like you go back to that again all the time.
Yeah, we want to put into actual proper style guide somewhere at some point, but we're only 2 days.
But it's really handy.
Yeah, it's handy, right? But actually, we have a CSS variable file as well now, so we just reference that for 50% blue or whatever. Like we can just take that. But whenever we're doing some other people are using PowerPoint or not PowerPoint, yeah, or Photoshop or whatever, they can reference that then for text values. So we also have some swatches and stuff for that. So
you can use 25.
Sorry?
You can use 25 for the coding.
We use that actually as well. The reason why I went down the route of this one was just so I could programmatically generate all the shades rather than have to put it in individually in Quantify. But yeah, we do have Quantify for other stuff as well. Oh, this was a weird thing I did. Rasterizing SVG files into PNGs and we downloaded it.
What?
Yeah, on JavaScript.
Like what you do on Wikipedia, no? You have SVG files,
Yeah,
but you download PNG.
they probably do a backend. This is all front end. So that might seem like a really weird thing to try and do. The reason for it was we wanted to build an avatar builder for kids, build an avatar for the profile. So that it was flick through different basically the idea is since we call our attendees ninjas, it was like a ninja design. Choose your band colors and badges on the button, things like that. But I wanted it to be easy for them to just download it and put it somewhere else. And SVG file upload for Twitter pictures and stuff just doesn't work. So, and I didn't want to have to go down and do back-end stuff to do this. So I was like, let's see if I can do it with Canvas. So you'll see if I inspect. This is a base 64 of the PNG that was generated based off. Oh yeah, and as well, you can just apply styles to it. I have a class of blue by default. I swap it out and just able to re-rasterize it and output. So the idea is that whenever I select a different element for my avatar, I can just re-rasterize. Basically, just do it all by classes. So blue scarf, Color Dojo logo, JavaScript logo, whatever, has class names. I would just hide and show different elements and just call rasterize and PNG. So you can actually totally see that's all pixelated now. Look at it up there. But yeah, that's about it. I think the rest of it is all very boring.
I might have missed something. What was the use case?
These gives it the avatar builder.
the avatar builder. What was the problem with using SVGs directly then, or?
Because I wanted to be able to right click, save the image.
Oh, okay. You can do that with SVGs. Okay.
You can do it with SVGs but you have
It
to
would save as an
file.
SVG with it, or?
It would save an SVG, and we want to be able to so the kids could upload it to their, the older kids who have Twitter or whatever, or any kind of social network, or even just to embed somewhere on a forum or whatever. SVG not so good for that kind of stuff generally. So yeah, that was the use case. It's the horrible code that. Actually, it's not too bad. Basically, because you can just. What was it? Yeah, you get totally base 64 to ASCII and ASCII to base 64 are functions built into browsers that I didn't realize. Yeah, that's basically it.
That one works now everywhere.
I don't know.
I wrote an article about it, I know.
HTML, I'm not quite sure it has great support.
Sorry?
Either HTML you're using, I'm not quite sure it has great support.
I don't even know why I'm using that. Why am I using HTML?
Yeah, you're using it. I think it was down below. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Huh.
Not great support.
I told you on YouTube there.
Yeah.
I just use inner and just wrap it in SVG tag. Yeah, so that's about it. That's it. Yeah, you actually.
Thank you.
CodePen. Perfect.
Yeah. And a quick
You're right, code it.
CodePen. One article as well.
CodePen.
Our entire platform is open source. If you want to get involved,
Shameless self-promotion.
kidhub.com/coderdojo.
A CodePen pen to write code. On a CodePen notebook.
Last time I wrote code, pen was my exams.
That's proof that
It's usually something terrifying if you
paper will never die. So no matter how much electronics want to go, paper will still stay.
they said that about parchment.
More volunteers? Have time for another one? No?
Yes, yeah, see some concept logs from React.
Okay then. Anyone else want to?
I didn't know we were going to do stuff. Like, if you went into my CodePen, it's a horrible force. Things
I didn't
right
watch
now.
anything good.
There's maybe one or two cool animation things, but not really.
Go on.
Yeah.
I don't even want. The stickers?
I really like
I got a
SEs.
sticker match.
A beer match, huh?
I don't want to use the beer mat.
You're invented.
Did I just steal it? Sorry. There's no sticker.
Oh, they just should have stickers.
Yeah. Is this on side point? Whatever that is, yeah.
I haven't. I imagine them on top.
I was trying to tell you. Nobody wants to cite it.
It was like when I did the first in Hacktoberfest. It's this idea you do four product fests and DigitalOcean GitHub will send you a free t-shirt. They'll send a bunch of stickers and it's like, there's Hacktoberfest one done. Like DigitalOcean stickers and other random things. I was like, I just want that.
But what if you run out of space on your laptop?
Yeah. And I'm running out of space.
You buy a new laptop.
Laptop.
Good reason to replace your laptop.
Need a bigger one.
Wait, cover for your laptop. Start new.
Start later.
This was something small. So the company I work for, they're called Software, and they have a really boring little 3 squares logo. And so it was basically like bringing them in on little call to actions, but like not just static. So it's like 3 individual little CSS divs, like shapes. And then it's going a little bit slow on this, but basically like
It's the quick check, don't worry.
yeah. So but they come in behind each other and just kind of cascade out. And you could go for crazy stuff like spin them in and weird things like that, but they didn't really like that. And so yeah, that was one little tiny thing. And that was forked off of
Little bounce at the end.
yeah, they kind of rein it in a little bit,
Pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice that they haven't for them now, but you can do that.
There is. There's some other. Have you seen it on like some websites? Definitely, but
Just a quick question. Was that an iframe I just saw?
Yeah.
What was the use case for the iframe there?
If there was an iframe, it didn't make it into the live website.
Oh no, sorry, it was figure or something else.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. It's not an unusual tag, anyways.
So this was with like, so you know like SVG outline, and you can animate that to like basically like draw itself. But it looked really cool, and I was gonna do the whole logo in that, but like gave up after like. So the
That's
boxes, so like something like that then. So, but that was basically me drawing 3 boxes in Inkscape, animating it, and then like you set just whatever logo you're putting on top of it. Then you put like a delay or whatever. Not delay, whatever what the property is in CSS. But yeah, just to show up after that. But if you go to some like news websites, they have like super duper intricate ones that like fade in on top of an image. I know like.
You can probably do it with a keyframe, so you're
Yeah.
having it for the first several frames. You have it opacity 0, and you turn it on a bit later.
I feel like this was it.
Polygon.com.
They use a lot of them here, and it was like, I'm not sure it was that
A
one.
lot of their Xbox and PS4 reviews.
Yeah, this is it. So it kind of like drew itself, and then so it actually faded into an image. I don't know that one at the end, but there was a lot of cool stuff like that, and I was like, and it's not that one looks really hard because it's like a pretty intricate SVG drawing, but it's just an outline still. So if you had the patience to, I don't know if there's an easier way than drawing it by like mouse, but
Could you just right click spec element there, just
let's do that.
so we can see a little bit more detail?
I think that started the trend.
This review.
So this Xbox
Okay.
started the trend of the animating SVG.
And
Well, the trick is you have to move that line back equal to its own length, and you either calculate by hand or you use a JavaScript library that does that.
so they're doing, yeah, like this is what I use as well, stroke dash array. So if I know if I change this to like 1500, then it would be missing parts of it because it's not running through the whole line.
That
That's cool.
you have to change the offset, I think, to start it. That one actually makes the dashes into the outline.
Okay.
So they have to be the same value to be a continuous one, and then with the offset is you offset it with its length, and then you animate the offset from 0 to whatever value.
Nice. But yeah, SVG is like, I think it's really interesting right now, and I don't know. Besides that, yeah, not a lot of
We had last time somebody showing the filters on top of the video with SVG.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
No,
Just
no. So the guy had a demo with some videos and effects on top of it.
Oh yeah, just one video.
Just a question on SVG though. One of the things I noticed is that SVG and HTML seem to be really competitive with each other at the moment. So beforehand, SVG was the only thing that could do things like, complex paths and circles and all that kind of stuff. But you can actually do very similar things with HTML now, and that's probably in some cases easier to do because you can actually do that in pure CSS. What do you think is the use case for SVG specifically over HTML? Like, what type of use case do you think is very easy to do with SVG, but not so much with HTML?
I think if you're getting like a little more intricate than basic shapes, you just gotta.
Yeah, just only basic shapes basically in CSS.
Yeah, but if you're going any kind of like path or outline or yeah, SVG is also great. Well, I mean, if you're using HTML, it's not a problem either. But like, even for stuff like diagrams we use on a website, company logos, because they scale just like immensely. It's like they look the same mobile or if you're
SVG images are not going to argue against SVG images for scalability, but more,
The only
especially
reason
more
I
like
think of this
primitives, like what if you're building something from scratch, with say like D3 or something like that, what would you argue is SVG is more suitable for programmatically as opposed to like SVG images can't argue that at all.
Okay.
But programmatically, what would you be looking at?
What are you gonna say?
I would go for SVG because like nowadays we have pretty good support with the SVG, browsing support, and my private opinion is it's more natural to create shapes in SVG, because like simple shapes. It's more readable, I would say, more natural.
It should be just as easy to do it programmatic because it's basically, if I remember correctly, something like go to position, this position, and then either draw a circle so you can program that just as well as, or on the other hand, doing it with the HTML elements, you kind of have to overlap and to do some of the other things. You can't really do cutouts. You can't do complex shapes.
So the path element is what makes SVGs. If you're going to use the path element over anything else, that would be the reason to use SVG over HTML.
And well, if you have to argue about semantics as well,
not semantics, just whatever's easier to work with.
Yeah, but having some random divs or spans into the page just for the purpose of drawing certain, I don't know, a bar chart.
Okay.
When you can do it with SVG, and you can also have the text element for SVG, so it can be indexed and accessible at the same time. So,
but yeah, that's it. I'll make something a little better next time.
That was pretty cool.
No, I just want to show you this. So this is where I get like a lot of my like little design resources. I hope I had the URL right. And I think the guy who makes it is actually an Irish lad. But basically, it's a whole website of just CodePen like blurbs, and he separates them out into like categories. So you can go down and look at like.
Like other people's pens that we found.
No, he makes everything all himself. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But he'll have like pricing lists, image hovers.
Recreating some other stuff.
Hmm?
That person is just recreating some other people's website projects.
I'm not sure.
Or just forking.
No, these are I've forked a lot of them, but they're always like, and it's all just CSS and HTML, no JavaScript in any of them. So you can add JavaScript and do some other like cool things, but like I don't know, I use it a lot, so I was like,
All of his.
fill you guys in
None
on that.
of his is JavaScript.
No, there might be JavaScript just to
for
set.
the animation of those lineups, I think you can omit JavaScript if it's a complex.
Yeah.
These guys know.
It's on hover.
No, I thought you were talking about the Xbox stuff.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, has some cool ones. So
Is there anything you can put up links or anything on that I should call it a meetup site, it's not a meetup site technically.
No, I'm going to put from now on. I'm going to put them on all the WCSS because it gives a lot. For example, I can't even message the participants once the event is passed.
Yeah. And I think it's easier to find if it's on a meetup site because that's where people look.
Yeah, I'll create one and practically for announcements, follow WCSS on Twitter and every time.
Oh, we could stick nice URLs or whatever. You could.
but yeah, no.
Someone.
Someone named
Can I
me.
have a collection of stuff there?
Yeah.
It's very CodePen, obviously, because he uses CodePen for all of them. And they're all pretty simple. Like this one was just, I think it was 3, divs, but he just skews them and gives them different opacities, transitions them about it like a couple of milliseconds apart. But it's something, you wouldn't really think about. A lot of them are a little finicky to actually put into something in production. Like I look at it like, oh, that'd be so cool. And I try and put it on the website, and the heading up top might be like 8 letters too big or small. Like it obviously he's putting the words in there that it fits perfectly and looks nice. So it's like it's hard when you actually do it.
Showcase stuff like.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yep.
Thank you.
What else?
No,
I don't know. I was up there for like 2 seconds.
Come on. Never say no to fish. Okay.
I'd love to hear any other kind of cheat sheet websites other people use.
Google.com.
There we go. Stack Overflow.
I had somebody said that in an interview when they were asked them code questions, and she said, I just use Google if I need to. I thought that was a good answer for it.
Yeah, that'd be a good answer for me, actually.
Don't know how that went.
Anyone else want to show me here?
This see during the week that I think CodePen launched a new sort of mail out called Spark, CodePen Spark. It's like, Sci4.io. And when you get the emails from them, it looks redesigned it recently. Well,
The newsletter. The newsletter, yeah.
yeah, it just came in last week. Looked lovely.
Yeah, they started. Think of newsletter. So, hi Robert, CSS user. They started newsletter, so he sent 2 so far, and he usually sends stuff like private screencasts that are not made public. So, and so far, at the end of each one, there's a very nice recipe for a cocktail. It seems like his hobby. So.
I like it.
Adrian, did you get back on when? Remember you said our first CodePen that they're going to redo the site. Did you ever get back on how that's going in the ETA?
No, I haven't been in contact with him. So Chris doesn't really. There is another team member who handles meetup from Mario, and I haven't really been in touch with him since we talked then. I know he's a very, very busy guy, and every week I just see him. He blogs on content. He blogs on CSS. He has like I think every newsletter I get from Media Temple has an article of his as well. Yeah, it's his call. It's his way of doing things. So I don't think he needs me to pester him with stuff like that. He has newsletter. If he's going to launch it, there will be in the newsletter.
No, it's called
No.
Insider. Oh, it's excellent.
Yeah, they just talked about in the last podcast about the newsletter.
Do I need to have to define HTML?
Yeah.
No one's something
You're a
right now.
native.
Well, you are.
Well, they're using MailChimp.
Okay.
Let's use like HTML2 for that.
Yeah, and then I go editing that.
I had to work one from scratch, so no framework, just basic tables and inline code.
But the thing is, it'll be like, oh, it's looking great. Look at that. Coming into Gmail perfect on my phone.
Yeah, no, I had it run.
HTML2.
I'm not going to give names, so but I worked with a previous contact, and they had the text emails out of their application, a portal, and they had them converted to HTML. They have a basic design being a system-generated email. It's not much about design and content, so basic branding and usually whatever the purpose of the message is. Yeah, here is your password, click to link to reset your password, you've got a new subscription, this sort of thing, invitation. So what I did was code all those possibilities in email and then chop it off into pieces of code that you can put together like Legos. So there will be the header of the email, the footer, which include like the beginning of tag of the content cell and the end tag, and inside that again broken the piece of code that goes opens the title, closes the title. So whenever they have to do something programmatically, they just say concatenate beginning of email, concatenate beginning of title, concatenate title, concatenate end of title, concatenate open paragraph, concatenate paragraph content, and they just have the pieces in place to build all sorts of system emails. Fairly simple. So the most complicated part was something like a name value pair, which was table. Like in that case, yeah, it's a bit more complicated. You need an open table, you need an open row, open with cell between cells and the last cell. But the way I did it, it was exactly Lego-like, so that they could piece them together without having to go to a designer and rebuild it